Oh, what a night tonight. It feels like
It is Thursday, the 1st of August. I'm Randy Kure. This is What's Up the Sports podcast. Hope you are doing well. We are live on YouTube. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you are downloading tonight's episode via your favorite podcatcher, we definitely appreciate that also. The Summer Olympics is taking place in Paris, of course, and we are going to focus particularly on the Olympics. As well, we are going to talk a little Major League Baseball, some basketball, and some football, that mainly in our rapid fire segment. The Roundtable is together once again. Tony Antoniou is back with us. Tony, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Doing well. It has been a while, and it's also been a while to see Neel Katatrey. Neel, thank you so much for hopping on. Really appreciate you.
Randy, good to see you guys again, man.
And joining us for the first time is an avid sports fan who is joining us literally from the heart of the Keystone State, from Carlisle, Pennsylvania. His name is Matt Hoffmann. Matt, thank you so much. Real pleasure to meet you. And how you been?
Thank you, man. I'm good. Glad to be here. Appreciate the invite. Looking to have fun talking about sports with y'all.
No, definitely looking forward to a perspective, of course, from the United States. And, from the conversations that we've had, I have come to learn that you are physically closer to Philadelphia than Pittsburgh. However, DC is closer to Philly, which is close. Baltimore's closer to Washington, DC, but you did grow up in the New York area, and you are all things Jets, Nets, and Mets. Is
Yankees.
that right?
Yankees.
Oh, you're a Yankees guy. My apologies.
Yeah.
I must. Oh, okay. So right off the start, I'm not really making a good impression on you. Is that
correct? That's all right. Most people are like Jets and Mets and Giants and Yankees kind of thing. So I'm like the weird combo.
Oh, is that okay? Fair enough. I mean, very quickly before we get into it, in terms of your town of Carlisle, is it where do the support sways in terms of football, in terms of baseball?
So the majority of this area is kind of mixed. We get a lot of Steelers fans out here, a lot of Eagles fans. We do have a large chunk of like Ravens fans, which I mean, Baltimore is only about a 2-hour drive, so I mean, it's not too bad. That's really about it, though. We don't really get too much really on the outside there. I'm one of the only Jets fans that I've ever found. So
yeah. No, it has been a difficult time for the Jets, but who knows? Maybe good things could happen for New York this upcoming season. So guys, I of course have mentioned, and everybody knows that the Summer Olympics are underway with its first week. And hey, it's been quite an impressive start for both Canada and the United States. I mean, Summer McIntosh is absolutely killing it in the pool. 2 gold medals, 3 medals in total. United States with 37 medals already, 9 of them being gold. Neel, I know that you did want to talk about basketball. You have the Canada jersey there, which I absolutely love and envy you for. We're definitely going to talk some hoops. Yeah, wear that with pride. But, I would love to start off with what sports are catching your eye. Tony, Matt. I mean, Tony, we might as well kick it off with you. I mean, with the Olympics there, first of all, have you tuned in? Number one. Number two, which events are you have you been watching?
Well, that's what's funny, because you set the lineup and I'm like, shit. I said, maybe I should back out of this, because I didn't have the intention. I wasn't excited about the Olympics in any way, shape, or form. So I haven't watched much. I watched the last 5 minutes of Canada's opening game against Greece, the basketball, men's basketball, and that's because I was at my sister's house, and her boyfriend was watching it, so I sat down and watched it. However, the Canadian women's soccer story has heated up, to say the least. So it has piqued my interest. So I'm gazing at that a little bit. I'm scrolling through Twitter. I'm always going to find out which Canadians won medals. That's always a thing to me. But man, I was in so much soccer overload over the last month between Copa America and Euro. So much time invested in front of the TV watching all kinds of games day and night that I needed to take a breather. So unfortunately, the Olympics had to be checked off because Premier League starts in a couple of weeks. So I got to kind of regroup and get ready for that. And TFC still playing. So, it's just too much on my plate. So the Olympics, I had to say sorry to the Olympics.
Yeah, it's funny. I was kind of there with you, not so much because of sports overload, but wasn't really too keen on the Olympics. Now that it's here, it's pretty cool to see. I mean, Matt, how about yourself? I mean, with regards to the Olympics, are you an Olympics fan? And if so, what has caught your eye the first few days?
So never super big into the Olympics either, especially this year. Like he just said, they had the Euros going right before this, Copa America going right before. So I mean, I watched a little bit of that. I'm watching a little bit here and there of some stuff, but not really too much jumping out of me. I mean, the NBA, obviously, all of the all-stars of the NBA are just jumping off the list of stats and stuff, which is great. I've found table tennis to be oddly entertaining. Olympic table tennis is a thing, and it's actually kind of cool. So it's hard to find.
Yeah.
It's hard to actually find like coverage of it anywhere. You got to have some special channels or something. But
Yeah, no, I mean, not knowing specifically what kind of consumption, what kind of coverage you get in the U.S. I mean, it has been pretty consistent and pretty wide ranging here in Canada, and it's been pretty decent to see. Like with me personally, like to see tennis, because to see the Djokovic's and the Medvedevs. I mean. Felix Auger-Aliassime is doing very well and is going to be playing Carlos Alcaraz, world. I think he's number one tennis player. Yeah, no, and just I mean, it's really really it's interesting. Like I said, like I mean, just the Olympics has put a sour taste in my mouth over the last few years, but it's here and it's pretty cool to see. And what's also cool to see is Canada's success on the hardwood. I mean, Neel, the Canadian men's basketball team was supposed to be in the group of death, and they've had a perfect start so far. Want to give you the floor. What are your thoughts so far on the basketball tournament?
Well, the reason I was so excited for this Olympics was this team. And it just feels like Canada has had this brewing sort of like depressing history where we had this like couple of kind of high points or not even high points, but like teases, you could call them. And, 24 years ago when we were in the Olympics, that might have been considered something. Last year when we came away with a medal, that was definitely something, but that last year felt real. Because just watching that FIBA tournament last year, just like seeing how these guys played, seeing how they stepped up, played for one another, played such an entertaining, unselfish game, and the skill level that we now have, the dogs that we have. I mean, we got one of the greatest players in the world who's going to be a top 3 player in the world for the next many years. And then we got a bunch of dogs on our team surrounding him. And I'm talking about guys that are some of the best defenders in the league, some of the guys that you hate to go against if you're an NBA superstar. Dylan Brooks, Lou Dort, these are 2 of the top 5 guys probably that any NBA superstar that plays the wing or the power forward or any guard would hate to go against. I mean, but the big thing for me, though, is just that all these guys seem to be stepping up their game beyond their NBA sort of production for this team right now across the board. And it's showing. I mean, I was a little worried because we had a 16-point lead against Greece, and then we had to really depend on Shea to close out the deal, and he did. This man on my chest did. And then to a much more dangerous Australia team in the next game, I was thinking, man, Australia could take this one just based on how we finished against Greece. It's a toss-up, and we really, really mopped the floor with them in the second half, finished that game aggressively and excellently. And I think just we're growing with every game. This team is going to grow not only this Olympics, but over the next 2 Olympics at least. That we're going to most of this core is going to stay together. And I mean, it's just probably the most exciting thing to happen to men's team sports on an international stage, outside of hockey, of course.
Sure.
I'd say in decades. And as far as your question about the Olympics and just the sports, me personally, I'm always excited for the Olympics. And I don't really give a crap about how many medals are won by any other countries except for Canada. I do care about our medal count. And every time I turn on the TV, regardless of what sport it is, if I see a Canadian, I usually am giving it a chance. But the ones that have really stood out to me, like Matt was saying, table tennis for him, as just like entertaining. Like I became glued after not really watching these sports at all in the past. And this sort of happens with every Olympics. Every year the Olympics comes on, every 4 years, I'm always stunned by the skill level that any gymnastics competitor has. I mean, you're talking about probably the ultimate sport when it comes to a combination of grace, strength, and focus on just an individual momentary thing that you have to do, the perfection that you have to have. I'm not too much into the swimming sports, but the other one for me would be street skating, where they're doing the tricks like Tony Hawk's Pro Skater. It brings me back to those days where I was ripping that game up on my
Nintendo, original Nintendo. I had that game.
Yeah, and these guys are just mind-blowing. So, just the tricks and the routines. So that's been one big one for me that I've really enjoyed.
I very quickly, I did want to talk about the basketball tournament, and I know Canada has such a strong team, the strongest that we've ever had, but still, to me, it's USA's to lose, and I still think it's despite the great run that Canada has had so far, USA almost losing to South Sudan, that this is more so a tune-up for the 28 games because, and Matt, being an American, love to hear what you think about the reality of LeBron James being 40 years of age, Kevin Durant, he is pushing 40, Steph is in his late 30s, and it would be interesting to see USA's men's team for the 28 games. I mean, not to put you on the spot intentionally, Matt, but I mean, like with regards to where USA's men's team could be in 4 years, do you think they're going to be as dominant?
Not even close. Nope. Because until someone in the NBA can step up to that level that will play under the United States flag, because a lot of the other countries that are in that tournament that are running hot, that are playing very well right now, are representing other countries, even though they represent the NBA for their full-time, day to day. So if somebody doesn't step up, I don't know. LeBron's not going to be able to do it again. Are we automatically going to put his kid in there? I mean, they did it in the NBA, but can we do it for the Olympics? I mean, come on. The Olympics is a little bit more serious than that. So, I need to see somebody really step up who's going to represent that flag and wear that jersey with pride and do it not only in the Olympics, but do it in the NBA too.
But I mean, beyond Anthony Edwards, if you want to throw in Devin Booker, there may be
Scotty Barnes. Scotty Barnes probably going to be on the next Olympic team.
Scotty Barnes.
He's one. Tyrese Halliburton, not sure exactly where he's from, but he could potentially be one.
He'll definitely be one. Brunson, I could see him on the next Olympic team.
Brunson, I could
There's a lot
definitely
of
see
old guys
one.
on this one that are going to get replaced next time.
I think
Maybe
my biggest
Jaylen
issue when
Brown.
it comes to Olympics and
Jaylen
specifically
Brown.
the basketball team
If he
is they
signs with
just want
Nike, maybe
superstars.
Jaylen Brown.
He'll be like, "Fine, I'll come."
I think
Or
the
is it
USA
fine?
just
We'll
wants to
take
have
you.
superstars representing their country. We don't necessarily need superstars to represent the country. We need people who are going to want to go out there and represent their country and play their hearts out, win or lose, doesn't matter. I don't care what name's on the back of the jersey. The one that's on the front is the one that's important.
No, absolutely.
And I just want to say, Randy, to your point, just to kind of, I disagree in the sense that I don't think this is just a tune-up for the 28 games. I think this is real. And although I do not think we will win the gold medal, hey, look, this USA team is one of the best ones ever assembled. I mean, you could look at all the teams. This one is it's better than at least the last three that they've put out there.
I think that's my point.
Last two. 2012, 2008, those were comparable perhaps. But look, when it comes to Olympic basketball, there's just two things. There's the gold, where the U.S., it's always going to be theirs to lose, and that's going to be the case forever. But the rest of the world still sort of has this thinking that, okay, take the USA out, now who's going to get the silver? And there is a lot of pride along the whole rest of the world that we know that Spain was the top dogs for many, many years with the Gasol brothers, Rubio, and those guys. And I think Canada is really starting to come into form. And as long as we do what we need to do this Olympics, we certainly have the chance to take that role from Spain and be the other guys that everyone fears outside of the U.S., like everyone did for Spain.
Yeah.
And the outside chance is always there that Shea Gilgeous-Alexander is one of the great players in the world. And what Manu Ginobili did to that USA team in 2004, nothing's impossible.
And it's nice. Sorry, let me just add, and I've said this before, and I'll keep saying it. It's one of my knocks on Canada basketball men's for a long time, but it's actually nice to see our great players showing up and wanting to play. Right? I mean, there's always a few exceptions, and screw Andrew Wiggins, but it's a nice change because I don't think we've had that necessarily over the years, but this group seems to be all in and invested for playing for Canada, and that's finally I have some confidence in this group moving forward because that's always been a thing for me that I've watched from afar and say, man, some of these guys don't. It just doesn't feel like they're motivated. I mean, even Steve Nash, after he had that wonderful run in 2000, was it in Australia?
2000. Yeah.
They had that wonderful run. They came out of nowhere. They turned a lot of heads. But I mean, after he became an NBA star, he virtually had no interest in playing for Canada, whether it was partly him or him allowing the Mavericks to not let him go. That always rubbed me the wrong way and left a bitter taste in my mouth. So this group, I hope they keep that momentum going.
Yeah. No, I mean, I guess what my comment is about Steve Nash is that, I mean, a lot was expected of him. I can't remember when he won MVP, but was it before
2004, 2005 and 6, I believe.
Okay, so it was just before Athens. Sorry, it was just after Athens. But when you have a 2000 team, a U.S. team with Kevin Garnett, Vince Carter, Gary Payton, all of whom were in their prime, and Nash's number 2 guy is Bill Wennington. Todd McCullough, yeah. Well, hey, there's a Philly guy for Matty there, but I mean, it did seem that Nash did give it his all, and that there wasn't a lot of there for him to go to Canada, put himself out there to go through the ringer.
You could say the same thing for Giannis right now. I mean, he goes back 100%. And plays with a great team that he's head and shoulders above, and Jokic is probably by far and away the best player in his nation. But these guys go back and play. That's my point. And again, like he had an incredible run in 2000. It just seemed like he helped kill that momentum just by not going after that, not performing for the country. I'm over it. I'm just looking back at that time.
But look at this interesting trend here that you guys have already picked up on. Like Nash was here 25 years ago in the Olympics, 24 years ago, at the exact same time that Vince Carter was blowing up with the Raptors. Both of those characters heavily influential on what we see now with Team Canada men's team.
Right.
The influence is palpable in the effect that those two guys had in raising up the interest level, the respect level, and the buy-in from all these youths who have now clearly created something special and the start of something special with us. And so you go back to like Greece and Serbia, and even though Serbia's got a great history with basketball, Jokic, they've never had a guy like Jokic before. And there's no doubt that he's influencing a great deal of countrymen like Giannis is in Greece. And so you may see that in 20 years, those two countries have really started to field a team like we're fielding right now. They may be a couple decades behind or a decade behind, but all the teams in the world are going to start. And this is where the new NBA deal going with Amazon, choosing digital subscription worldwide international audience over the status quo being TNT, taking the money. That's why it's a 4 times the size, this deal, or 3 times the size of the previous deal just 7 years ago. So they're going to rake it in. They're going to reach the whole world, and the influence level across the world is going to come hard and heavy. And you're going to see that the parity level on the international stage over the next few Olympics really starts to get closer together as far as we're talking about the U.S.
You know, Matt, a question just kind of dawned on me here. And obviously you could hear the three of us being from the Toronto area, and that the Olympic basketball tournament does have a certain level of value, especially in this country, especially now. I mean, the last time Canada's men participated in the Olympics was 2000 in Sydney. But, you know, I'm kind of curious what your thoughts are in terms of this Olympic tournament, and if this exposure changes a lot of minds with regards to American kids getting into basketball. I mean, like, obviously the NBA season is one thing, but NCAA basketball and you know, I'm kind of curious if you think that the Olympics gets people's attention, especially with kids, considering whether basketball may be a potential avenue they want to follow. What do you think?
I would love to say that the Olympics draws more people, especially younger people, in. But unfortunately, I don't think it draws the same attention that an NIL deal does, which is a whole nother can of worms, maybe for another show. But I just think, especially in this day and age with our society, I feel like the pride of the Olympics across the board has kind of dwindled itself down over the years. You know, we talk about going back to 2000, 2004. You know, those Olympics were the last ones that we really recall, like a good team or a good this or a good that. But I feel like the overall pride level in the Olympics has kind of dropped. And now a lot of people's focuses have now shifted on monetary, which is why the NIL and, you know, we're going to sign all these college kids. And so I feel like if people are getting excited about basketball or about any sport, it's because they know that there's money involved.
Yeah.
And maybe that's just kind of, I don't play a sport. I've never really played a professional sport of any kind. So maybe that's just kind of an outsider's opinion there, but it all seems to just revolve around the money at this point. So I want to say that the Olympics brings pride and hope for those youthful kids, maybe to the younger kids who aren't in school yet or elementary level. You know, what are your dreams? Oh, I want to play in the Olympics. You know, that's one thing. When they hit college, those dreams have completely shifted. And they want to make $6 million and buy their mama and their girlfriend a house. You know, I feel like the focus just shifts at some point, and it's not about representing the game. It's not about having pride for the country. It's about who's going to make the most money. So I would like to see that shift change again. I would like to see, and I think Canada is kind of doing that right now, actually, is that they're kind of bringing that pride back and saying, you know what, we have a dang good basketball team. You know, we should be out here representing that to the whole country or to the world. And it's not something you can do just in the NBA.
And the fact that these players are going to the Olympics, you know, for free, essentially, shows that it does have a certain meaning to them. I mean, how many times has LeBron, KD had participated in these Olympics. I mean, in the Olympics throughout the years. I mean, it is really extraordinary for sure.
Yeah, I just want to bring up, like Matt was saying about the NIL. Like the Olympics to me is actually very similar to what college sports was, what the NCAA was before. Now, just in the last year, players can start to actually get paid. These college athletes. It's been a long time coming, and I'm super in favor of that. But it was really this NCAA, this institution, raking in the dough while all these athletes are out there risking injury, doing everything for pride, the pride for their schools who are getting paid and they're not getting a dime. And the same thing is in the Olympics here, where these Olympic organizers are really raking it in, and these competitors are there just for the pride. Their countries may give them something separately, but the Olympics don't give them anything. And it's kind of sad to see some of the after effects. Like, for example, in Brazil, when they had that Rio Olympics, they spent billions of dollars in terms of changing the whole infrastructure of that area. And they're kind of just left with a dump now, whereas there's a lot of some of the worst poverty in the world in that country. And you're looking at a mismanagement of not only the Olympic spending, but the after effects haven't been there for the economic development or industrial development of that nation, like ideally they probably thought would happen. So I think it just goes to show the Olympics are going to move on, and they're not going to give a crap about what happens to your country after you've hosted. They feel probably like it's a privilege that they gave you. And it's up to you to kind of make the best of it. But so yes, there's a dark side to all this stuff as well.
I think you're seeing less. I think you're also seeing less contested Olympic Games because of what you're talking about too, Neel. It seems like we have the next 3 or 4 Olympic Games
established
locations have been picked off and established, and Salt Lake City just landed the forget what year. Sorry,
this would be 34.
34 Winter Olympics,
34
and apparently it was
30.
I think it's 30. I think it might be 30.
30.
Yeah, 30. It might be.
It is 30. Sorry, because Milan Cortina is the next one. Yeah, and they apparently went uncontested, and even the World Cup, they're just Portugal, Morocco dual bid picked it up. There was no competition there. So less and less countries are putting that kind of money up to, never mind host an Olympics, just bid for one because it costs so much money. I think you'll see more of that, and Brazil's a great point. Even after the World Cup, there are, stadiums that are basically parking lots for school buses now left over. They build one by the Amazon jungle, and that thing is collecting dust. So it's a huge issue.
It absolutely is. And we're definitely going to circle back on the Olympics to this degree in a couple of minutes. But of course, the big story, Matt, in our neck of the woods is the Canadian women's soccer team. Of course, they were caught using a drone watching the New Zealand women's team's practice prior to the opening ceremonies. The Canadian team was docked 6 points. 3 of their coaches have been suspended for a year. That being said, the Canadian team was still able to participate and have advanced to the quarterfinals. Neel, I know that you're not overly I don't know if versed is the right word when it comes to soccer, but with regards to what took place, I mean, what were your thoughts on the punishment and this whole saga with the Canadian women's soccer team?
Yeah, so this saga, Randy, like despite soccer being one of my lesser versed sports, even though I love the sport and I have been getting more into it, this is more of a sport issue rather than a what sport is it issue. This is a world this would apply to any other sport if this was happening. And to be honest, I thought the punishment was not only more than fair, but if I had to choose one way or the other, I'd say it was not enough. This was a national embarrassment, in my opinion. This is a national embarrassment, this story. And look, there are other teams that may be doing this as well. I don't know. We don't know yet. But the fact that not only did they come with that, not only is this a one-time event, but this has been a trend that has happened numerous times, dating back at least 3 or 4 years, and has happened on multiple occasions. Like, this is something that not only happened in this instance, but has happened multiple times in the past. I mean, we already have a strong team talent-wise, one of the best in the world. What do we need to do this for? What do the coaches have? Like, why are they lacking so much confidence in their players that they would be doing this? We already have some of the greatest players in the world as a team. We've shown that. Why do the coaches show a lack of confidence in these players that they have to resort to this? Or do they show a lack of confidence in themselves? Because I put this blame squarely on the coaches. I don't think the players were involved, and if they were, shame on them. But I do not think that they have any blame in this, assuming they weren't involved. The bigger shame here, or one of the other things, is that we were caught spying on New Zealand. New Zealand is not even a top 25 team in the world. I had to look at the international rankings today to confirm this. They're ranked around 30th or something, and we're squarely in the top 10 in the world here. Why are we spying on New Zealand? Is it that we're so desperate that this is part of our actual strategy that we still spy on the, excuse my language, but the shitty teams out there? Like, we still got to do that. This is like Bill Belichick spying on the 0-win Cleveland Browns when they went 0-16, or the 0-16 Detroit Lions. Why the hell would he need to do that? But
that was the one thing that definitely caught my mind. It's like, why New Zealand? I mean, Matt, I first of all, I do apologize for being so Canadian centric here, but I mean, with regards to this particular issue, I mean, has it really caught a lot of headlines your way? I mean, are people like our media outlets in the U.S. talking about what took place with Canada's team?
They're touching on it, not maybe as in depth as they might be up in your guys' neck of the woods, but it's been brought up multiple times. I know the question was, was the penalty strict enough, or, was it not enough? In my personal opinion, I think it's fine. When they found out the Patriots were cheating, they didn't, take away titles or anything. They, slap on the wrist and keep moving. Some people paid some fines, and that was it. I mean, I'm an advocate for any sport, play fair, play right, be a gentleman about the game, whether it doesn't matter what sport it is. But there's also, the human nature of the aspect. I feel like it's almost ingrained or wired into people that we can get away with stuff like that. I'll use a completely unrelated sport, or, quote sport. They used to play the World Series of Poker on ESPN. And so to me, poker is a sport. There's a whole scandal going on about a guy using a laptop to gather data and run mathematical equations for him and so on. They didn't ban him. They didn't fine him. They didn't penalize him. There was nothing. They said, well, we don't know what to do because it's not in the rules. So, I mean, as far as like, is the punishment fine? I think it's fine, because what else are you going to do? Are you going to, prove that they did it before and strip titles away? I mean, all right, y'all caught them. Don't do it again. Let's keep the Olympics going and not live on the negative of this information. Let's go out there and win a gold medal.
I'm kind of with Neel on this one, and with that the penalty may not be enough, and I'm sure Tony has an opinion on this as well, because the way I see it is that if Canada was to win a medal of any kind, that it is going to have an asterisk to it. And the one thing, Tony, that I have noticed is that one group of people that hasn't commented are other soccer federations. And I mean, like, you think about the what takes place when Canadian teams go to, say, Central America for either Gold Cup or Copa. I mean, like, fans are at the hotel room blasting loud music and fireworks. And I mean, you see that kind of gamesmanship. But I mean, like, as Matt brought up with Spygate and the Patriots, like, maybe it's possible that this kind of funny business happens with other teams. But I don't know. I mean, I don't know if the penalty was sufficient enough.
My take is different on this. It's going to be different. I mean, you got caught, you deserve some kind of penalty. But if anybody's going to try and tell me that this is not done on an almost daily basis in team sport, and it's the first thing that came to my mind. Right now, drone, excessive, strange, but my goodness, with today's day and age, when you have analytics, advanced scouting, you name it. What the hell do you think all that is? It's a form of gamesmanship, one upping, being prepared for the competition, no matter who it is. New Zealand, South Sudan, Swahili, Transylvania. It doesn't matter. Apparently the men were doing it against Honduras and they lost the game 4-1. So it didn't work then. I don't think the players should have been punished for this. I'm okay with the penalties because it came out, you got caught, fine. But to tell me that this is, and you hit on one of the things I thought of immediately, Randy, was, if Canada's playing in Honduras and outside their hotel, there's hordes of people lighting firecrackers off, shooting machine guns in the air, keeping the noise level up all night so the players don't go to sleep. The Federation should be stepping in and doing something about that. Or CONCACAF should be stepping in and doing something about that. To me, that's a form of cheating. That's a form of, advanced scouting, if you will, trying to tire the other team out the game before. It's so commonplace. I've heard two interviews over the last week. One with Didier Drogba, the Chelsea striker legend, former
Sure.
Montreal Impact player, and he laughed it off. He flat out laughed it off and says, "This shit happens every game. This is much ado about nothing for him." So that just goes to show you that the players are in on it too, and the players want information too. They want lots of information. They want to know how they're defending a guy. The striker wants to know what angle he should be leaning on, left or right of the center back when he's attacking. How does he turn? Which way does he turn? These are all things that you're going to have access to before the game starts, right? And Tyler Adams, the U.S. midfielder, also was on a podcast a couple of days ago and said the same thing. This happens all the time. So we're always taught to trust the experts. That's what they tell us: trust the experts, listen to the experts. So these are guys who are playing, have played, or are playing at very high levels, who are telling you the truth, who are telling you that, yeah, whatever it takes. Now, again, thrown, excessive, weird. Like the fact that you would go to those lengths. Apparently, they requested if they could bring a drone, were denied by the IOC, but still brought a drone. That's another thing I heard. And that's another thing, which is funny, because Rick Westhead, who does great reporting on this for TSN, he also uncovered the Canadian junior hockey scandal where they molested a woman during one of the World Junior Championships, and he's getting criticized by Canadian soccer fans for bringing this truth out to light. He's just reporting. I mean, again, we're in the situation where we're deflecting the blame. The blame goes to the coaches. The coaches got caught. They get their penalty. Let the players play. I don't think there's going to be an asterisk. If our women turn out a medal out of this, I don't think there's going to be an asterisk. I don't think there should be an asterisk. This is sports, man. Like, this is what they do. This is the gamesmanship. This is how coaches operate. The same question. I mean, look at the New England Patriots. We brought them up. Why the hell do they need to spy on anybody? They've got Bill Belichick and they got Tom Brady. That's all they needed. They were playing an AFC East that was absolute garbage for that whole time during their run, especially the Jets.
I also want to point out the Jets were one of the teams they spied on. They had somebody behind the Jets coach box with binoculars staring at the playbook.
Yeah.
Those need to be big binoculars if you got Rex Ryan as your coach.
So, that's my take on it. You take your penalty. The penalty is sufficient. The point deduction was ridiculous. I thought there was just pressure to do something drastic like that. But I don't think the players are to blame for it.
See,
now I'm curious.
Please,
if I can bring up a point real quick, just to address what he said about the points, because we also, in that same little short time there, mentioned that the players are using this information. The players are taking this information from their coaches. So if the coaches are the ones that were responsible for flying the drone, fine, you penalize the three coaches. But I also believe to an extent that maybe points being taken, maybe not 6. I'm again not necessarily being an Olympics fan. I don't know how drastic 6 points actually is in the standings. But I mean, those players are benefiting from that information that they've then gathered. So, I mean, it's not to say that the players don't know about it, because we just had 2 players very recently on other podcasts say that we know this happens. And it's not just in soccer. It happens in every sport. It happens not just in the Olympics, but in any season of any sport of any kind. I mean, there's going to be people that think they can get away with it. There's going to be people that catch them, and there's going to be people that think that the penalties are either too harsh or not harsh enough.
Yeah, I just want to add.
And the one thing, sorry, Neil, before you go ahead, the one thing that I am very suspicious about is, okay, whether it's Spygate or this whole drone footage thing, I am not convinced that the players didn't know about this. That, how are you going to take drone footage from a practice? Let's say it was the New Zealand side, and then you're going to relay that information to the players. You're not going to show the footage. I mean, to me, the whole transfer of information, actually seeing video footage and then verbally discuss it only with the players, that's my problem. Now, Tony, obviously, you definitely hit a lot of good points. The fact that this happened all the time, Didier Drogba commented, and so on. But I think there's a huge, I mean, it's a false comparative if you're talking about drone footage on your opponent's practice versus residents from said city, country, lighting fireworks at a hotel. I mean, that's apples and oranges.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. It is. I mean, to be honest, there is, to me, at least a good chance, or at least somewhat of a chance, that the players didn't see the footage and that they were not included in this, and that it just went to game plan management, and they instructed the players, but they used their information as a coaching staff to institute a game plan that the players were then apprised upon. But I want to just say 2 quick things. One, about this asterisk point, that initially, Randy, when you said that, I agreed with you. And then when Tony said he doesn't think there should be an asterisk, I sort of also agreed with him, because they docked 6 points off this team. They had to go undefeated by a good goal margin to even get past the group stage. They did that. So in my opinion, now the punishment is served, in the sense that they really had to scale a mountain to even get past the group stage because of the punishment. So now they've done that, and it's sort of, everything's a level playing field. So I sort of am with Tony on that. The other thing I just want to bring up, and not to be a conspiracy theorist, but when you guys talk about drones are excessive, and the guy who was flying the drone, this guy named Joseph Lombardi, staff member for Canada Soccer, these Paris police or security or whoever caught him with the drone once, gave him a warning. Then he must have moved to some other nook and cranny of this stadium, and he put that drone out there again. They caught him again, and that's when they arrested him. So whether it's drones being a potential security hazard at an Olympic Games over a stadium, who the hell knows who this guy with this drone is in this empty stadium where the team is practicing? They got to have tight security for that situation. But this idiot got caught twice. I mean, he should have just gone home and said, hey, you know what? It's New Zealand. I'm just going to pack my stuff up now. Instead, he went and tried again. And I think that is also one of the embarrassing components of this.
They never should have gave him the drone back, though, because, again, drones were they had already asked about whether or not they could bring it. They were already told, no, you can't have this here. Then they have a guy in there doing it anyway. You got busted. They let him go. Yeah. And they gave him his drone back. If it's that serious. And so when drones came out, this had to be suspected that people were going to try to get any advantage up on the competition that they could, whether it's drones, whether it's videos, cameras. They had to know.
It's either that, or he actually had a backup drone in the event that his first gun got taken away.
That's the other possibility. I haven't seen report.
Desperation to me.
Yeah, I haven't seen report whether or not it was actually confiscated. But if there isn't, they should have.
Whether he didn't go home the first time, or whether he had a backup drone in case the first one got taken away, both of those things are ugly forms of reeking of desperation. And against New Zealand, it just, you read between the lines, and there's nothing good about this story other than the fact that the women's team actually scaled that mountain and got past the group stage.
That's exactly why I don't believe there should be an asterisk next to if they go all the way and win it all. They overcame everything they needed to came. Like you said, the punishment's been served.
Yeah.
I don't see any reason why there should be any kind of tick next to their name for this.
It's still an embarrassment, though.
Yeah, Tony, I mean, a last thought to you. I mean, with everything that I said with regards to the whole gamesmanship of this everything. I mean, like, it sounds like that you are over it, that this controversy is in the past, and that soccer just needs to be played. Fair to say?
Oh yeah, I was over it. Once again, I don't know. It was crazy. I turned around to my fiance. I'm like, why am I not looking at this like it's a huge deal? Now, you got caught. You deserve the penalty, but I was over it pretty quick, and I'm over it now. And I like Neel's point is that, they got their penalty. They lost, their 6 points. They were penalized, and they overcame and moved on. So, and this could potentially make this story ridiculously awesome if they get, they finish the tournament off with a gold medal. But I don't know, man. Like I said, it's sports. You do whatever it takes to get an upper hand, and that's just the way it is, and that will never change. So I just try not to be outraged too much about these things. We tend to be outraged about a lot of things easy in our society these days. This is not one of them.
And if Canada does claim the gold medal in women's soccer, of course they will be defending their gold medal from the Tokyo Games. And obviously, Matt, not knowing when you started watching the Olympics, I personally was captivated way back in 1988 when the Olympics were in Calgary, and perhaps Tony and Neel were of the same mindset. That was a really special time in our country and in terms of sports. And with regards to the Olympics as a whole, I mean, we did talk, Matt, about how the Olympics and how organizing committees are spending, and that has kind of tainted my view. But with regards to the games itself, I mean, are you enjoying it at all?
Yeah, I mean, what I've seen on the tubes, I've really enjoyed so far. I actually just recently learned that riflery or something along those lines, rifle shooting, I didn't even know that was in the Olympics. So that's been kind of fun to watch. I'm not seeing as many of the other like track and field events that I thought I would have seen.
They come
But
later.
again,
That's the second
like,
week.
I went in and out with the Olympics in the early 2000s. I watched a little bit more when I was, late middle school, high school, into the, right around like 2010, 2011. And then I kind of lost all interest for a little while. It was, I saw a lot of just drama that I wasn't really interested in at that point. So, but I mean, like I said, what I'm seeing, I'm having a lot of fun watching. It's hard not to root for the USA when they keep winning so many medals. So, but I'm pleasantly surprised by some of the competition that they've had in some of these other sports too. So,
yeah, I mean, as obviously Canada is such where we've we've had the Olympics in 2010 along with 88, 1976, but the USA definitely seems to have a different, I guess, outlook. From my perspective, this is my vantage point. Please correct me if I'm wrong. But with regards to the next Olympics being in Los Angeles, I mean, like, is that something that kind of excites you? The fact that it is in the United States, or is it the fact that it is kind of on the other side of the country and it's kind of a little too distant? Is there a national pride, like whether it was Los Angeles or Salt Lake City? I don't know if you were too young to remember Atlanta, but I mean, as a New York guy now in Pennsylvania, I mean, is there a sense of, like, I suppose, national pride for when the Olympics are in your country?
absolutely. I mean, I wouldn't care which part of the country we were in, just to have them here is a blessing. Having all of these countries come and spend time here and get to experience our country in the time that they're here also. So, I mean, yeah, just having them here is going to be a blast. And I think a lot more eyes might tune in, knowing that they're actually here, and especially in such a big media market such as LA. I mean, that's, I think, the second largest media market in the country behind New York. So
I think so, yeah.
So I mean, it's hard not to think that that's not going to draw attention. It should draw a whole mess of media attention. And like I said, it's going to be awesome to have all these guys coming and visiting us and getting to see what we offer as a country. I would have loved to have gone to Paris as much as I would have loved to go to LA when they come here. You know what I mean? To me, to go to the Olympics would be special in general, but to have it here, there's definitely that like home sense of pride there.
I mean, my sister actually went to Paris with her son, and she caught France, Japan, and I posted a couple of pictures on my social media, and I actually have a Utah Watanabe Raptors jersey, and my nephew wore that during the Japan game, and he got some compliments from Japanese supporters and so on. And I mean, honestly, it just I mean, obviously, it's going to cost an arm and a leg, but I mean, some of the venues didn't sell all their tickets, and I am kind of regretting it. I don't know if LA is feasible for me personally, but yeah, no, it's I mean, it's definitely a sight to see for sure.
Well, your nephew definitely got to go to the best game of the tournament so far, because that was a banger. And I watched the end of that, and that was unbelievable. 4-point play to send it into overtime at almost the buzzer, and then just wow, Japan. Much respect to Japan for that one. But we know one guy who won't be in LA, and that's LeBron James, because he already said he's going to be in the Caribbean when the Olympics come to LA.
Yeah, but like Matt said before, I mean, is Bronny going to take his place there? I mean, hopefully we're saying that in jest, but.
Bronny has a better
the
chance making the high jump team.
sorry, how do you put the barf emoji on the screen here?
I can tell you now, if they pick Bronny just because, I will not watch. I want to see people who want to represent this country and represent this team, not just because your dad played for the last 25 years.
I could see him being on the select team, that like the B team that sort of plays the U.S. and travels with them, maybe, but nothing more than that.
Yeah.
I mean,
and if America keeps to their standard of only having real big name superstars and notice a lot of the names are from bigger media markets, even Devin Booker being in Phoenix there, KD, I mean, those are all bigger market areas that they're pulling these names from. They might be some of the best players, but they're also pulling from places where they know people are watching those specific players.
I don't know, off the top of my head, man, I don't know if I might have to challenge you on that. I mean, Jaylen Brown, obviously, now there was apparently something untowards, whether he should have been on the team or not. He's not on the team. You do have Tyrese Halliburton in Indiana. I mean, whatever your thoughts are on Minnesota, I mean, Anthony Edwards is definitely an elite player. Beyond Jaylen Brown, I mean, who do you think should have been on the USA team?
Well, I don't necessarily want to throw any specific names out there, because I know a lot of these names that I think deserve it, a lot of people don't. My first, well, no, I couldn't even. So Tyrese Halliburton would have been one of my first picks. I mean, he was a superstar in the NBA. If you want a superstar playing in the Olympics, that would have been my first starting. Doesn't matter who else is on the team, he should have started.
Yeah.
I think he had one of the best stat lines in the NBA this year. I think he had one of the best team motivational mentalities to try to drive his team to wins, not just about himself.
Halliburton?
Yeah.
Great. Good player. I think he kind of slowed down the stretch and was a little injured, but his first half was pretty epic.
And I think the other issue there is they got to do something to get some backup for him. You know, he carried the weight of that team for 3/4 of the season, and started running into injury issues, what do you expect is going to happen?
Yeah. Me personally, I'm not mad that Jaylen Brown was not on the team. I like that Derek White was chosen because you look at this team full of unbelievable superstars. Each have multiple elite skills for the most part. Jaylen Brown, to me, number one, should not have been Finals MVP. It should have been Jason Tatum. And it's close. It's very close. It's just my opinion. I thought Tatum did more, not only to allow Jaylen Brown to cook by commanding so much attention, but he ended up playing just as well in different games. Like, it's a toss-up there. But Jaylen Brown does a lot of things, I think, that are replicable by other members of the USA team already. You don't need him for as much inside scoring when you got LeBron and you got all the big guys that they got on their team. He's not a good three-point shooter. He's not a good passer. Derek White is a better defender on ball and help defense than he is. So when you look at a guy, you need a spark plug on the defensive end. You want Derek White, and not only that, but Derek White and Drew Holiday were the best by far backcourt defensively in the NBA, and they know how to work together from a defensive synergy perspective. And so maybe that's something that the Team USA wanted to utilize in and of itself. But, like we already saw, Jason Tatum played 0 minutes in the first game. Joel Embiid played 0 minutes in the second game. You can't play all 12 guys like Steve Kerr said. That's not what he wants to do, even though there's an argument that you could find minutes for all these guys. But I don't see an argument where Jaylen Brown gets minutes over any of these guys either. And so I might as well have Derek White, who's a much better defender, on-ball shot blocker as a guard, and other skills that aren't as replicable by the USA team as currently constructed. So that's my opinion on that one. Jalen Brunson, though, I really think Jalen Brunson should have been on there instead of Tyrese Halliburton, not to take away from Matt's point, but I just think the guy's a dog. He's a good teammate, and he's a spark plug. I don't know. That's just my opinion, though.
Yeah.
I feel like him and Halliburton could have easily been swapped, and it would have been just fine.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, a quick question for Neel. Neel, sorry, do you think Scotty is going to be an option in 4 years?
Absolutely, he will be on the team. I guarantee you that.
Yeah, if he's healthy, of course.
I think so.
Okay.
Of course.
Yeah. All right.
Well, I mean, you could see. I mean, obviously, there is going to be a new wave for when the games go to LA. I mean, LeBron, KD, Steph aren't going to be on the team, and it will be the Tatums, the potentially Jaylen Browns. Who knows? Jalen Brunson, like you said, Scotty.
Mm-hmm.
Off the top of my head, I can't think of.
You could see
Tyrese Maxey, Chet Holmgren, absolutely.
For sure.
Yeah. No, that.
There's some of these Houston guys. There's a lot of good young guys. You might see Cooper Flagg on there in 4 years. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
The way this guy's hype train is rolling on full steam.
Was it? It wasn't Jalen. Was it Jalen Smith from the Rockets that went just totally bonkers this year?
No, it was.
It wasn't
no,
Smith.
I think it was
Jabari Smith. He's on there, but he didn't.
Jalen Green.
Jalen Green. That was mixing the two names together. Jalen Green could be one coming up in the next Olympics that I could see getting some run.
I see him as a high risk, high reward type guy, so I wouldn't put my money on him being on that team. But I hope he makes it because he showed some flashes last year.
Yeah, and who knows? Maybe there will be more parity for the men's tournament for when the games are in LA. And I mean, hey, obviously, it isn't a foregone conclusion that the U.S. will win gold. I mean, stranger things have happened. So
Oddly, I think Kevin Durant is going to be on that team. Call me crazy, but he might be 42 years old. I feel like he's going to be on that team, and it's only because. Look, I just got a feeling about Kevin Durant. This guy, he doesn't care if he plays a few minutes a game. He's just going to want to be there, I think.
As long as LeBron's not there, I'm fine.
I could see KD being the type of player to move on to be an Olympics coach one day.
Oh, Yeah. That's
Because I mean, with somebody of
You
that
think-
like body stature, the knees aren't going to hold up forever. The knees are going to, really start to go on him here real soon. But I could definitely see him coaching these younger guys.
You think he has that kind of presence though? I mean, obviously
I do.
his body of work is what it is, but does he have that confidence to coach a team? I don't
Yeah.
know.
Yeah, I don't
He's
know
got
about
the
a head
confidence.
coach.
He's got the mentality, as far as I believe. And again, he was with the Nets in a absolutely abysmal failed experiment of that power three that they were trying to do. He lasted the longest. He had the best mindset out of all three of them. I mean, I could 100% see him becoming a coach one day.
They always say it's really, really tough for elite level players to become team coaches because you expect your team to be as good as you are. And I think that weighs on you sometimes. And I think that's what makes it tougher. That's for the truly greats to be coaches. It's not often you see it happen. So I think it would be a challenge for Durant because
Yeah.
it really does take a lot of patience, working, understanding. And when you're that great, not understanding, not getting why he doesn't see what you're able to see, that could be frustrating. That could be frustrating.
And
I coach 13-year-old soccer girls, and I get frustrated when they can't see what I can see. However, they're not supposed to be seeing it. They're 13. They don't know what the hell I'm saying. You know what I mean? And I get it. I mean, I don't get too frustrated, but inside I'm combusting. I'm like, how the hell did you play that angle there? How did you let her run by you? I didn't say it out loud, but that's why it would probably be a challenge for someone like Durant.
he has a history of caring a little too much about what people think about him, and that may not bode well as a head coach.
That's my point. That's
But
my
then
That's
point.
a phenomenal point. Phenomenal point.
The other thing is that I do see him extremely likely being the type of elite one-on-one mentor type guy to players. For example, you see all these guys. For example, Giannis went to train with Kobe one summer, came back, his game was elevated. You see like Embiid or whoever goes and trains with Olajuwon one summer, their game is completely elevated. Olajuwon and Kobe are the two guys that come to mind that they have always been like, yeah, come see me. You better work, wake up at 5 a.m. with me, but anyone's welcome at my house. Come train with me. I see Durant being exactly that type of guy that everyone's going to want to go see, but he's gonna ask something of them, but he'll be willing.
I got a question for the floor, and this is going to put the three of you on the spot. So we're going pretty heavy talking about basketball. And of course, this tournament is in the Olympics. And there is something that is unfortunate to me that the elite tournament for this particular sport, as well as hockey, is in the Olympics. I mean, obviously, soccer is a completely different kettle of fish. I mean, with World Cup, I mean, every single country is participating, and I mean, it has this history. But Matt, obviously, you're a hockey guy as well, and to see the World Cup of hockey being held as sporadically as it is, I mean, help me out here. The last one I think was in 20. When was the last 2016? The one before that was 2004. The one before that was 96. If they did have a 4-year run, have that hockey tournament in the summer. Have it like I distinctly remember, and Matt, I don't know how old you are, but I distinctly remember, Tony, you probably do as well, that the World Cup final in 96 was in Philadelphia. And that to me, it was just an incredible tournament. It was in a unique time of the year. And they're just simply with the World Cup, with the Olympic potentially NHL is going to go to Italy. I think that has been confirmed. Correct me if I'm wrong.
I believe so, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, do you guys are you guys indifferent, or do you see where I'm coming from with this? That basketball and hockey specifically should concentrate more on a separate tournament and not put all of their resources to the Olympics.
I agree with that part. Yeah. NBA, typically hyper focuses on NBA, except for when the Olympics come. Everything else is hyper fixated on that. Hockey, we hyper fixate on the Stanley Cup, and that's great. I think one of the issues there might be actually getting enough support for the event, or being able to get enough teams together at this point. It does seem like a struggle to like even put an NHL team together at this point. Hockey just doesn't seem to have as much national attention as it used to. I loved watching hockey when I was a kid. I got away from it as an adult. The rules kept changing. All of a sudden the players changed, that I didn't know who any of these kids were coming out of college because I wasn't that, knowledgeable on the college aspect of hockey. And I just kind of lost touch with it. So, I mean, I don't speak for everybody, but I think I'm a little bit indifferent when it comes to that. I love watching playoff hockey. This year's playoffs were super freaking exciting. I loved every minute of this year's playoff. From start to finish, every single game of every round, I enjoyed all the action that happened in the playoffs. I don't know that they can necessarily ask for any more than that.
Tony, I know that you and I have had some chats about the World Championships in Europe, and that there definitely is an appetite of NHL players participating in the annual World Championships. I mean, once their team gets eliminated from the playoffs, they book it to Europe, and they take part representing their country. But the problem is that it's during the Stanley Cup playoffs. And to Matt's point, when you have an incredible playoffs like that did take place this past season, who's going to pay attention to these World Championships? I mean, let's say that there was a World Cup of hockey every 4 years and that it was in one country, and it doesn't have to be USA and Canada. I am fully confident that if Finland was to play Czech Republic in Stockholm, that you are going to see a sellout. Apologies to get you on this question, but I mean, like off the top of your head, I mean, do you think that the NHL and the NBA should move away from the Olympics so they could concentrate on a World Cup, separately as a separate venture?
Well, the players, I think, both basketball and hockey, I think they love the idea of winning, an Olympic gold medal. So that's going to be difficult to it's been a dogfight the last few years. The NHL players really wanted to play in the Olympics. Gary Bettman was trying hard to not make that happen because, what's in it for me? And that's what it comes down to. But I think you nailed it in your intro when you started talking about the subject. I, too, was a fan of the World Cup of Hockey. But when you have it once every, 9.5 years or whatever the hell you're doing it, you're killing the prestige of it, right? You're immediately drowning the thing before you put a life jacket on it and give it a chance to float and survive. So that's what's happening with the World Cup of Hockey. I would have liked to see it every 4 years. I think it would have made a difference. I think it's not difficult to get hockey players to play for their country, no matter what tournament you're playing in. It might be a little more difficult to get basketball players to go out and play in the FIBA Worlds in the summer, I find. I think the Olympics for basketball is a good concept. I am a fan of the World Cup of Hockey, but you've got to establish some consistency. Next year, they have some stupid, gimmicky 4-on-4 nation championship going on, and that's fine and dandy. Sorry, that's my dog.
Yeah, no, all good.
Someone must be home.
Yeah.
So not she. So they dropped the ball there. I prefer a World Cup of Hockey because I had the pleasure of working it in 2016, and it was just a great experience. And if I'm not mistaken, the '96 World Cup. By the way, the final was in Montreal, not Philadelphia. The game
wasn't a couple of games in Philly?
I think they did have some games in Philly, but I know the clinching game of the U.S. victory was in Montreal. Winning the deciding game of the best of 3 series, 5-2 in Montreal.
Montreal. Okay, I stand corrected.
Yeah. And if I'm not mistaken, that tournament started off in Europe with the European division, if I remember correctly. So I think it was like that in 04
as well.
16 as well, right? And then they came
16,
over. But I'm with you. I'm with you. If they come, if you want to play the whole tournament in the Czech Republic, it's perfect time right before training camp, so players are ready to go. Um, I think it's a lot more attractive than say what the NBA players might have to face for the FIBA Worlds, but they've dropped the ball there. It's plain and simple. They've dropped the ball there, so it's the World Cup of Hockey is tainted because of it. But at the end of the day, the bottom line is I think if you ask a player to a man, that an Olympic gold medal to them is the most prestigious thing they can win after their, Stanley Cup championship, of course.
Hmm. Neel, I know I've said this 100 times already, and I think Tony does have a point with regards to the World Cup of FIBA World Cup, and now obviously it was in the other side of the world in Japan, Indonesia, Philippines. I mean, that's quite a hike. But I am convinced if you had USA versus the world in a summer tournament, that every American would be foaming at the mouth trying to get on that team. And maybe it may not be the case so much for a World Cup of basketball, but USA versus the world in a 7 or even 9 game series. And hell, you could even have that in Europe, like one country, say it was in Spain. Have that tournament in Spain, or you could have it in like any sort of random US location. But I think that would just be an absolute gold mine.
Are you saying the U.S. field their usual USA team as best they can, and then another team is made up of all the best players in the world?
So it would be, so like take this USA team as it's constructed for the Olympics, then they go against a team of
Like Jokic and Shea on the same team?
Jokic and Shea on the same team with Jamal Murray and Victor Wembanyama. And,
so the only problem with that, Randy, that I see is that we're talking about then it's not an international competition anymore. It's an exhibition circus. And I say that respectfully, but like the fact is that national pride is taken out completely for all of these international guys. Well, they don't give a shit about Canada. Shea doesn't give a shit about Serbia, and Jokic doesn't give a shit about Canada. Who are they really fighting for here? They are fighting for their countries. They want to come back to their countries, land at the airport with a medal around their neck, and everyone's going crazy. And they're a source of national pride, not international pride.
But take a look. Sorry to interrupt. But I do think it's pointed to say that out of all the international players that are out there, between Giannis, between Jokic, between Shea, Jamal Murray, and so on, how many of those players actually have a country that could beat the United States? Like especially this year's tournament and in years past.
Not only are you right about that, but I also think the international team would win that series more times than not. At this stage of the game, give me the international team all day, every day. The top 5 players in the world, in my opinion, are all international. I mean,
I could agree with that.
But it's just, it would be a fantastic. I would be front and center with you, watching every single minute of it, and foaming at the mouth for it too. But it would not be considered an international competition or anything that involves any sort of national pride. Only the U.S. can claim that.
It reminds me more of like an all-star game.
It's pretty much an all-star game where
it would be, hey, let's put our 5 guys versus any 5 guys that feel like coming up against us. That's like some street ball stuff. I don't know
it would be awesome to see, but
yeah, it would draw one heck of a crowd. Don't get me wrong. It would sell a lot of tickets.
Now, I'll say this. Sorry, the World Cup had Team North America and Team Europe in order to cut down, to give the young players a chance to play that didn't make Canada or the U.S. And I thought it was the dumbest idea ever before the tournament started. The more we watched it, it worked out. I wouldn't want like a Canadian team mixed with Euros. If it's a team of Euros, that might be a different story. You might have them playing with European pride. But so it kind of worked out because Team Europe ended up making the final against Canada in 2016, and they embraced it. So it wasn't a horrible idea. I'm still not a fan of it. However, they found a way to make it work. So, and you see it in golf too, right? It's the the
What about
Ryder
like a
Cup.
whole?
But
What if they did like
that's
a
been
whole
a long.
international, like intercontinental type of, all of Asia? Anybody who represents Asia, any Asian country, anybody who represents any European.
Right. I think I think
you know what I mean?
you have a chance with something like that. Yeah, for sure.
So like a continental.
Yeah, but then it becomes much
Okay, good.
smaller, and then your teams are also kind of like uneven. You have what, 7 teams? So I mean, you'd have to finesse that a little bit, I think. But
Hey man,
I think-
get me a Team Antarctica jersey all day.
But you know what, Tony, you touched on my example, and that being golf. If you had to take Olympic golf versus the Ryder Cup, which is USA versus Europe, or USA versus the world for the President's Cup, then I think that tournament is incredible. President's Cup is going to be in Montreal. And I'm really looking forward to it. I totally get your point about Canada and European nations. I hear you, but I think that when it came to Europe for the World Cup of Hockey, that Draisaitl was an up and coming prospect for Germany. But I mean, the German side is always poor. Anse Kopitar was one of the top players in the league at the time, but Slovenia wasn't going to do a heck of a lot. And I think with North America, it was just such a one-off because you had Connor McDavid, you had Cale Makar, I think you had Cale Makar. No, Nathan McKinnon and Austin Matthews. I don't see North America recirculating again. Maybe I could be wrong. But I just think for the level of competition, though.
So, Randy, the one thing I'm going to say, though, is your comparison to the Ryder Cup, or was it Tony's? Like, the big thing here, the elephant in the room here, is that you can't get injured playing golf. And that's why these guys can go ahead and do anything they want in any format they want. Because your idea about USA versus the world, they could just institute that for the NBA All-Star game. But if these guys actually gave a shit about that game, if teams were telling them, look, make sure you come out of here unscathed, that's the big thing here. Go have fun. Don't get injured. But if there was no money involved, if injuries were not a concern, the NBA All-Star game would be the best All-Star game in the world every single year.
You're not going to go full tilt mid-season. Like, it'd be interesting to see the Four Nations Cup.
Even if it was in the middle of summer, these guys with NBA money are not even going to go be interested in that. Okay, you're right. You do have a good point there about it being mid-season, but I when the other side doesn't have national pride at stake and only you do, I just don't see it being something with the injury it's stuff that people are going to be fully invested in, I think.
Yeah, and obviously this is it hasn't even been discussed in any form, but I like
the outside the box thinking, though. Some of these things, some of these sports need certainly some shakeup.
Well, I just want to touch something real quick too that he said about the All-Star game. The same could kind of be said about the NFL Pro Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we have, and this is at the end of the year. This isn't in the middle of the season. This is all the way at the end, and they're offering flag football now.
Yeah,
like whatever happened to the good, all-stars of the NFL strapping up, putting the pads on, and going out there and beating each other's brains out? That's football.
But that's
what
the problem, though.
The Pro Bowl used to be something to be proud of. Now you make the Pro Bowl, you barely even get on the field because you don't want to lose your billion-dollar contracts.
You're
just better off. You're just better off not having it at that point. You're just better off not having a Pro Bowl at all. Right?
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree. But then, there's always this conversation about who's the GOAT, LeBron or Michael Jordan. It's always going to be Michael Jordan for me. And I just thought of another reason that I've never really considered. And you think about those when he was in the prime, when he was running the league, when the All-Star game came around, all these other guys, they saw Jordan walk into the gym and they were like, he's coming, he ain't playing today. He's coming to win and he's going to play hard. So he raised every single other superstar's level up in a game that didn't mean nothing. LeBron has never had that effect.
and never
No,
will.
I think he hyped himself up. I don't think he was hyping up the game, right? The whole point of the All-Star game was to get everybody. It didn't matter what fan or what team you were cheering on. You guys were at the All-Star game to watch the best of the best, put everything on the line and play this game. And that's not what they do anymore.
Yeah,
Nobody puts everything on the line anymore, especially not mid-season like you guys referenced. But even at the end of the season, you know, the only players that don't get nominated to a Pro Bowl are the ones that played in the Super Bowl and the ones that aren't good enough. And the ones that made it don't play. They don't do anything. You know, the All-Star game for the NBA, they have a whole weekend. It's 3-point contest. It's dunk contest. It's this, it's that. Cool. MLB does it too. Home run derby. Awesome. But the actual game itself, the highlight event of the weekend, is always the worst freaking part of the whole weekend.
Well, you know what you got to do. Winning conference gets Game 7 of the championship series.
Yeah, home field. I agree with that. I like that idea.
I agree with that too. I like that.
Tony, I think you're on mute there. Oh, sorry. I don't know if you were commenting on what I just said.
Oh, sorry, guys. I was not. I was actually
okay.
chatting.
Oh, no, it's all good. But I mean, that's how you get participation in the All-Star game, and actually people actually caring about the game itself. I mean, basketball, I just could not care less, and it seems that you guys are on the same boat as me. I would love to see that kind of competition, in baseball, basketball, and hockey, but I don't think it's ever going to happen. But yeah, we will see what happens. So, guys, I'm going to jump over to our final segment of the evening. And Matt, this is a segment that I like to call Straight Facts or Bro Relax. So what's going to happen is that I'm going to give you a position that I personally have, and you're going to agree with me by saying straight facts, or you're going to disagree with me by saying bro relax, and please explain why. So Tony, it's kind of ironic that I am asking you about Major League Baseball and the Olympics, especially with everything that we had discussed about the NHL and the NBA, but there has been a couple of a little bit of chatter about whether Major League Baseball should participate in the Olympics, and with the games coming in 4 years to Los Angeles, I mean, it seems like the timing is perfect. I think it may happen. The World Baseball Classic, I think it's a great program, and it really hasn't really gained a lot of traction at this point. But I think Major League Baseball is going to find themselves in at least the 28 or maybe even the 32 Olympics. Straight facts or bro relax, Tony?
I will give a cautious straight facts. I think it's possible. The fact that the games are in Los Angeles makes it even more possible. The idea of having Shohei, Otani, and whoever the hell else being, and everybody else, because who else matters at this point, representing, baseball in that setting, I think is a very, 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 very strong opportunity. There's obviously a lot to figure out, and it always comes down to what's in it for me, and I'm sure that's what Mr. Manfred will be asking of the players and of the IOC. But I think it's a strong possibility. I think the World Baseball Classic thing has been working for the most part. There seems to be some interest there, but I think it would be huge. I think it's a strong possibility. I'd love to see it and see how it works out. Now, obviously, the baseball season is very long as it is. So you're going to have some shit to figure out there because you don't want to make it any longer. So do you start the season early? Do you give a cap of like 2 weeks tops of you to get through the tournament, get to the gold medal game, and get the hell back to your Major League Baseball season? I have no idea, but cautious bro facts. Straight facts. Sorry.
Straight facts. There you go. There you
I
go.
just combined
No,
both there. My apologies.
yeah. Yeah.
Maybe in some ways it is.
Yeah, that was-
Maybe
Yeah.
in some
Actually,
ways
you're
it's,
right. Yeah, it
you
was
know,
a little bit of a slip up, but no, I
it's
think.
a relaxed facts.
Yeah.
or bro facts.
Bro facts. Bro
Bro
facts.
facts. All right.
So if you take both sides, it's just bro facts.
Or
straight
try and stick to one side of the lane, fellas. I would appreciate
Sorry.
that.
Of
I
course.
know, I
No,
hate
no, no.
saying-
But hey, no.
You know me, I'm always on the fence with everything too, right?
Absolutely. But
Oh man.
yeah, no. Moving on and sticking with the Olympics. Obviously, Neel, the WNBA is in some uncharted waters right now, and there is a lot of excitement with women's basketball, and Toronto has been awarded an expansion franchise, and they are going to
Start
tip
next
off.
season.
Is it next season or the year after? I should know this.
I feel like
But,
it's next season, but it could be. But I something tells me it's next season. I don't know for sure either. But I'm
But
interested to hear what the name will be.
Yeah, but the one main reason why women's basketball has taken off is without a doubt Caitlin Clark. And there was a lot of news about Clark not being included to the women's American team for these Olympics. But to me, I think that this is going to help women's basketball in the long run, because it is all Caitlin Clark. And yes, Angel Reese is there, but I think the spotlight is way too bright on one person. And by not including Caitlin Clark to USA's women's team will help women's basketball in the long run. Straight facts or bro relax?
I think it's straight facts, to be honest. I agree with you. And the reason is that I think that as soon as like this phenomenon named Caitlin Clark sort of took off, in the March Madness tournament last year and even the year before, but really peaking in the tournament last year in the championship run to the championship game, beating Angel Reese in the tournament, and then obviously top pick in the NBA. And like all she's been getting since entering the WNBA is flack from all the other stars in the league, all the other players. They want to test her. They want to talk down on her. They want to say, hey, we're the reason for this success, not you, or we're here too, kind of thing. They feel like she's taken all the shine when she hasn't set out to do anything but get her own shine or emit her own light, you could say. And she's been a fantastic player. She had early struggles like any player would, but she's been balling hard over the last month plus. And
I do apologize, Neel, but I did want to touch on this before you continue. That I like that other WNBA players are calling her out on this. Now, in terms of the hard fouls and so on, I mean, it can be expected. Maybe it's part of the whole thing, but what are they supposed to do? Like all the rest now, like the Diana Taurasi's, who's been there for a minute, and I mean, she may be a little bit different, but like with Angel Reese and Leah Boston and so on, and like these people who are saying, "Hey, what about me?" I think it's exactly what they should be doing. Why suck up and give Clark all these flowers?
But the whole point is that Caitlin Clark isn't doing any of this. The media is doing all of it. She's playing her game. Why should they be hating on her? And why should they be taking out their frustration on her being someone that she doesn't create the narrative. She just plays her game and the narrative comes with it. So Caitlin Clark has done nothing wrong. She's a fantastic athlete.
Absolutely.
She's going to be a future champion, MVP, Hall of Famer, all that stuff, health permitting. But I do agree with you on her omission from the Olympics being a good thing overall for two reasons. One is I respect the seniority of team sports in international competition. You're a rookie. You got to really convince me to like severe levels that you belong on a senior international team, especially one as, I mean, if she was a Canadian, put her on the team right now, first player. But the U.S. is such a strong, dominant team who's won like 8-10 medals, gold medals in a row. You don't just walk onto that team as a freshman. And so I do respect the seniority of it. She'll be on every other Olympic team in her career that she wants to be on, pretty much. And so that's one point. But the other point that's more interesting to me is this just adds into the everyone doubted her in her rookie year, and see what happens after this. The revenge story that's going to happen throughout her kind of career, the chip that she'll have on her shoulder, will only bolster, I think, her focus and her future, maybe GOAT mentality that she will eventually perhaps, reap
Get to
as
that
a
level.
prophecy.
Sure.
So
sure.
I think for those two reasons, I really like that she was. But I'll be honest, I'm not watching women's Olympics basketball. I'm focused on the men's side, and I do wish them the best. Canada's 0-3, disappointing effort, but probably I will watch a little bit more when Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese are both on the team, because I've just really become a WNBA fan in this year based on Caitlin Clark, just like many other people are flooding into the sport because of this seminal superstar. And so I probably will watch more women's WNBA and women's Olympics going forward, especially now that Toronto's going to get a team. So
and I mean that's what got me more into soccer and basketball, for that matter, for when Toronto was awarded franchises. Yeah, absolutely. And last and certainly not sorry.
I know this is a rapid fire segment, but
No.
to Neil's point, I wanted to add something to that. That's exactly why they should have taken her, because you've had this gold medal string for how long, and they get zero coverage. Nobody gives a shit. Let's be honest here. And nobody gave a shit about the WNBA until she got there. And sure, we'll give a little bit of credit to Angel Reese as well. She's injecting herself into the conversation, no question about it. I agree in everything you said that Caitlin Clark is just out there playing her game, while all the the angry Shaniquas are after in the NBA. But they are killing the momentum by doing this. Randy, you asked the question, what are these players supposed to do? Give her the credit that she deserves. Embrace it, because it's only helping your brand. It's going to raise your value, your salary. But
For
when they're
basketball?
acting like this, sure. They just signed a
I
new
don't
TV
know.
deal, did they not? Did they not sign a new TV deal?
Fair enough.
No?
Fair enough. Sure.
Okay. When Caitlin Clark comes to play in Toronto in a couple of years, that game won't be at the Coca-Cola Coliseum. They're going to move it over to Scotiabank Arena.
Absolutely.
Yeah, for sure.
That's where you have to be careful. That's all I'm saying is you got to be very careful about showing bitterness, because you potentially hurt something that's enjoying the kind of momentum it's never seen in its existence. I mean, it's a charity league, right? It's being propped up by the NBA. It loses money hand over fist every year. Finally, you have traction, and the old guard, it's almost like they want to sabotage it, right? So that's
But
why I think she should have made the team at the very least, just to be there.
I think the problem is,
Because
Tony,
of the
though,
impact,
is that
right?
apologies, but I think the problem is that you're putting all of your eggs in one basket, and that's Caitlin Clark. And if she does go down with an injury, then what happens? I think that there is now Caitlin Clark is not there, but I will put any amount of money that the women's basketball tournament is seeing an uptick in ratings, especially in the United States. And yes, it is because of Caitlin Clark, but I think the possibility of putting all of your focus on Caitlin Clark is just exactly what happened with Tiger Woods in golf. I mean, like we're seeing it to this day. It was 195 when Tiger Woods started in the PGA, and ratings exploded for every tournament that he took part in, and it's still like that to this day. And I don't think golf has those kind of personalities, especially when you have Koepka and DeChambeau for the Live Tour, and that you do need to expose your other players and get them. And I completely agree with what you guys were saying, that the media is generating this narrative. It's not Caitlin Clark's doing that she's getting all this hype. I'm totally with you. However, there is a lot more eyes on the NBA, WNBA, and you need to showcase as many people as you can. Do you not? And
But
I
you
just
have
don't
to
think
be
it
likable.
happens with Caitlin
You
Clark
have to be
on.
likable. You're gonna want to cheer on for. You're gonna want to cheer on. Okay, you have Reese, you have Clark. It's the villain versus the hero. Angel Reese has taken on that role, and it's great. And I think she's doing a great job with it, and she deserves all the credit for
Sure.
her play and what she's doing. And she's a serious candidate for Rookie of the Year, along with Caitlin Clark. There's no question about it. But you can't show that. I mean, you brought up Tiger Woods. Look at the Fuzzy Zeller comment when Tiger Woods was coming out. Look at
I
how
remember
some of
that.
the other people took Tiger Woods and rejected it, didn't like it, that he was dominating the game he was. That was a potential to be hurtful for golf. Instead of embracing it and jumping on board with this guy, that's a potential to backfire. Golf is was an established sport at that time. Golf has their fan base. They're not going anywhere. The
It
NBA doesn't have
exploded
a
with
huge.
Tiger Woods.
The
It,
WNBA. No, but I'm saying it exploded. But I don't watch golf anymore. The Tiger's not around. I was a guy who jumped into it because of Tiger Woods. Watched more golf because of him. But now that he's not there anymore, I don't watch much golf. Maybe the last round of a major.
right.
I'm sorry, I'm rambling on. I know this is the
No, no,
last
no, no, no,
segment,
no. Of
but
course, of course.
the point is you have to be careful. That's all I'm saying. You have to be careful. You've got to embrace it. You got to take it, but you got to realize sometimes it's just the one egg in the basket that's going to help you. WNBA has been, reveling in obscurity for a lot of years, and I'm being kind saying that. Where you have just family members and free tickets out there watching games.
It's a valid
So you've got to be careful.
comment.
You've got to
I
be
just want
careful.
to say, I just want to add one thing. I know this is rapid fire, but I just want to add one thing.
Sorry.
When did the NBA really take off? When did they stop having
Bird and
tape
Magic.
delay,
Magic
and
and Bird.
Bird? Now
Yeah.
look at the similarities to Magic and Bird
Magic and Bird.
and Reese and Clark. Not only are they
Right.
the two best players from the college year previous, and even though they didn't play in the national championship game, I guarantee you their semifinal got more ratings than the national championship game probably did. And now you're seeing that they are both the top rookies in the league. They're probably going to be fighting for championships in the future. I'm not sure if they play in like a different conference or how that works, if they're going to be able to meet in the finals. Hopefully they will be able to, because that is really what's going to bring the WNBA to the next level. But you see the similarities, and hey, you got to say it. One's black, one's white, and that adds a whole other element to it as well of fan interest, social interest,
100%.
fantastic players, and that is going to be what the WNBA hitches their wagon to and looks at Magic and Larry and says, take us where they took them.
I'm so glad you said that, Neil, because a lot of people are afraid to bring it up. But that's exactly what it is. It's a black-white thing, and that's our culture now, right? Everybody sees everything through the eyes of race.
I don't think it's as much of that now as it was back then, but there's an element.
Oh no, it's even worse now. It's gotten worse.
I
We've
didn't
gotten
think you would take it there.
we've gotten worse in terms of how everything's covered through the racial lens now. Let's not sugarcoat that. But I'm glad you said it's 100%. It is what it is, and
Yeah.
it helps sell. It just that's just the cold hard reality of it. That's
Absolutely.
exactly. It's got a lot to do with it.
They want as much drama as they can get.
Absolutely, and that's how you create rivalries. That's how you create a product. That's how you create a buzz. Sometimes this is the way it goes. That's how you use it. And there was a lot of hate for Tiger Woods in those days, and you know why.
And
Look, end
of course,
the day, it's a business. It's all about making money. What's going to sell the most tickets? What's going to draw us the most amount of money? And right now, those two names, Reese and Clark, are the biggest things happening in the WNBA in the last 25 years.
They outdrew some NBA playoff games for Christ's sake.
Yeah, I mean,
for Christ's sake.
I have to agree a little bit with Tony there too. and say that they missed their opportunity in not putting Clark on that team.
Interesting
Just to
say
keep
that.
the momentum. Even if she didn't touch the court for a single minute of play, she should have been on the team. They missed that rolling train because that train had so much momentum. And the second they announced she wasn't on it, everybody was like, huh? What do you
But I
mean?
think, but Matt, isn't there something about going all in way too fast? I mean, why not develop an appetite, and that
I mean,
appetite
there's
being
also something to
Paris
be said for go hard or go home. I'm a avid poker
with you?
player. I'm an avid gambler. So when you say, is there something, about going all in? No, because the average gambler, and especially one who is about making money, and at the end of the day, NBA, WNBA doesn't matter. It's a business. What is going to make us the most money? What is going to bring us the most attention, sell the most tickets, and bring us the most amount of money physically possible? And right now, it is those two names, hands down. You can give me every name on the Olympic women's basketball team right now. I know 3 names off the top of my head that are previous superstars. I don't think they're superstars anymore because the level of superstardom has drastically changed in the last 2 years in what WNBA should be about.
So, Tony, I know that you were about to say something.
No,
Did you
go
want
ahead.
to?
I was just going
No,
to say, if this was the NBA, Randy, and Caitlin Clark was, a man playing in the NBA, yeah, you sit your ass down, you wait because, it's still LeBron and KD's time. But it's not like that now. It's not like that at all with this. Like she is the man.
And the women's names that are on that team aren't really comparable to KD and LeBron. I'm no disrespect to the ladies at all. I mean, they're great players in their own right. But as far as I'm concerned, Caitlin Clark is on the level of LeBron James and KD and Steph
well,
Curry. And these other ladies, no offense, they're not. They might have been at one point. They were the biggest names in their sport 5-6 years ago. They're not.
And it's not like she's gonna disrupt their chances at winning a gold medal. Chances are they're gonna win a damn gold medal because that's all they do.
sure,
Nobody else does.
But
sure,
I feel like you would have drawn a lot more. I mean, we have at least 2 guys, myself included, that said that we weren't even watching the women's basketball Olympics. So, I mean, at least if you put those names on the team, on the roster, you give me a reason to want to turn that on over the table tennis, which I have found 3 times as more fascinating. You know what I mean? And I can't even find coverage of the table tennis. I have to surf the browser just to find some random, cracked stream of being able to watch some. And I'd rather do that than watch the WNBA games, or I'm sorry, the Olympic games.
yeah.
They're just not big enough. They're not there. And if they had those other superstar names, I feel like they might have had a better shot.
Did you guys see the picture of that Turkish guy who was the shooter? In the Olympics, so in the shooting competition, Randy, if you didn't see it, all these guys come decked out in like cyborg looking eyewear, hats, hand devices, like different things to reduce blurring out of this eye patches mixed with like a cyborg eye device, and then they got the shooting stance. Then this Turkish guy comes in a t-shirt and just prescription glasses, goes up there and wins a silver medal. And it's a viral picture. You should look it up. This guy is the star of the Olympics so far, and he looks like he could be anyone's uncle after a night out at a bender.
Tony, he looks like just your average Joe for sure.
Looks a little too bright. I'll definitely take a look at that, Neel, for sure. I can't make out the picture, Tony, unfortunately. But I did want to. Yeah, I did want to. I wonder if there is a comparison, with Caitlin Clark not being on the women's team. If you guys remember 1992, it was the first Dream Team, of course, and Shaquille O'Neal was passed over for Christian Laettner. And
thought you were going to say somebody else.
Who?
Isaiah Thomas.
Oh, yeah. No, of course, sure. Isaiah Thomas. And yeah, we all can assume what happened there. But, here's a question very quickly. And I want Matt to chime in first. If these Olympics were, in fact, in LA instead of Paris, is Caitlin Clark on the team?
100%.
Good question.
You think so?
Yeah,
I think so.
I freaking hope so.
You can't host the games and not have the biggest superstar of our country in that game. She is arguably bigger than any NBA superstar right now. There is debate whether or not her name gets talked about more than LeBron right now. There is argument whether or not, even with the NFL season coming up, that she still has more hype than Pat Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, all of these superstar NFL quarterbacks. She's still the talk of the town. You cannot host that game and not have her on the team.
I definitely agree. For sure. And
now, granted, in 4 years, it won't be her rookie season anymore. That could be you barely have any playing time. You've only played in college. That was an argument that I heard a lot about why she didn't make the team. Was her more or less lack of experience. You have the biggest thing happening in your sport in decades. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if she never touched a foot on the court. It shouldn't matter. She's the biggest thing to happen to your game.
There's a good chance that even among the men's and women's teams, Caitlin Clark could be the biggest name at the next Olympics for basketball, men or women.
Yeah, I mean, even at the All-Star game, didn't she match Steph Curry in 3-point shots or something? Or he beat her by one or something like that?
No, that was somebody else.
That was Brianna Stewart.
No, it was not Brianna Stewart. It was
Sabrina Ionescu.
Yeah.
That's who.
Okay, so I got my people mixed up there. My bad.
Yeah.
I mean, regardless, she could match him. I'm telling you right now, if they would have put her in there, it would have been just as good.
For a shooting competition, sure.
Yeah, put her and Steph on the 3-point line. Let them go.
That's going to happen in the next couple of years. I guarantee you're going to see Steph Curry versus Caitlin Clark or something.
You would have a bigger draw to your All-Star weekend just to watch that 15-minute, little event right there.
Okay, I'm sorry. Now, there is no chance that it's an even playing field. If you're playing at an NBA distance 3-point length with an NBA ball, I'm sorry. The advantage is heavily on Steph Curry.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And they played at the NBA line.
Of course.
Right.
Like they didn't even go the Magic Johnson and Donovan Bailey route and go 150 meters.
Yeah.
Not the Magic Johnson. I meant Michael Johnson.
Michael Johnson. Yeah.
Remember that race? They should have done right in the middle. And then Michael Johnson got the cramp, which I still think was bogus to this day.
Yeah. Yeah. No. Maddie has no idea what was going on. It was a hyped up track event that happened just after the Atlanta Olympics because Donovan Bailey's feelings got hurt because USA called Michael Johnson the fastest man on earth when Donovan Bailey won the 100-meter race and in Atlanta, and Donovan got Donovan cried his eyes out there. But
was it him?
Anyway, it was Donovan. Yeah. Donovan was a suck about it. No, that's what happened. I mean, I'm sorry.
He wasn't stuck about it. He was right to be saying, hey,
he was.
the 100-meter dash guy is always the guy who's considered the fastest man in the world. All of a sudden, the Canadian wins it, and the American network is pinging Michael Johnson off as a fan.
Totally.
American network is hyping up their boy.
He had a right to be upset.
Yeah, and
you can't falsify stats. You can't say he's the fastest man in the world.
Sorry, Matt. What was that?
Just because they want to hype up their guy doesn't mean you can make kind of false advertisements about him being the fastest guy in the world. If we've always set the standard at that race and he didn't win that race, then how is he the fastest? That could be America's boy all they want, but you can't hype him up on it.
He did win. He did win it. He won the gold medal.
I mean, I just think that Donovan cared way too much about that.
Well, Randy, it also goes back to Donovan Bailey got zero money other than his sponsorships and whatnot for that Olympic performance, and he got $1 million for beating Michael Johnson that day. If I remember correctly, they raced for $1 million in that one.
Donovan Bailey.
I can't remember.
Sorry, I just want to say Bailey's one of my favorite athletes ever.
Me too.
Because he brought a real swag to the Canadian athletic that we've never seen before, right? The Canadian athletes always fit the profile of what a Canadian is. Nice, kind, respectful. He brought something different to the table that I'll always love and respect about him. And he won the gold medal, man. He was the fastest man in the world.
He set the world record, tongue out, flashy, chain swinging.
Yep.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
That was an
No,
enduring
It
image
was
for
just,
Canadian sports.
it was so un-Canadian, but I loved it. You know, it was like
well, of
finally we
course,
get to see some of this
because
swag.
Ben Johnson had his medal stripped and
Yeah,
sold.
it was sort of
And it was on the, yeah,
it was
Yeah.
the
yeah, obviously it was redemption too.
redemption from that, and also some little brother syndrome with Canada being always little brother to the U.S. And it was nice
The
to finally
US.
it's like you beat your big brother in like a game of 21 after the 10th try, and you know you're going to lose the next 10 too, but you're going to love this one till the day you die.
Right. You can carry that one with you forever.
Yep. It's like on this day, 63 years ago, is the anniversary.
Yeah. Well, hey, we do have one more rapid fire question, and it is for Maddie. And ironically enough, Matt is a New York Jets fan, and I am very intrigued to see. I think Tony and Neel are as well, of course, being Buffalo Bills fans, at what exactly Aaron Rodgers is going to do. And it was only 4 snaps last season. Of course, Matt, to your dismay, that he was shut down with that season-ending injury. And not that I am the biggest football fan in the world. I'm sure Neel and Tony will have a different comment. But, is there a possibility that Josh Allen may not get to that next level again? Or is it possible that Aaron Rodgers is going to have a resurgence and find that winning form that he did have in Green Bay? Aaron Rodgers being top 10 in QB rating next year, leading your New York Jets, Maddie. Straight facts or bro, relax?
Bro, relax. Look, as a diehard fanatic of the Jets, I have every reason to be optimistic and hopeful and woo. We did all this last year too, and you guys broke my heart the way you do every other year for the past 30 years that I've been a Jets fan. So, I mean, there is optimism still. There is 100% optimism, but it is now a cautious optimism. It is, are people going to show up? Is Aaron Rodgers going to be healthy? Are all of the pieces that they put around him going to be healthy? I mean, they've done a lot of things to try to give him everything he needs to win. And some by request, some, they said, hey, we're going to do this because you need this. And other guys, he was like, hey, I want this guy on my squad. He's a leader. Do I think he's going to be one of the best quarterbacks in the league? I don't know. I want to say yes. I want to say that he's going to get back to winning form. I believe that he could bring us into the playoffs and hell, even make a deep run. I mean, we still got to go against Pat Mahomes. Still got to go up against people like Josh Allen, who, the other part of that question was, do I think he's going to get to that next level, or is he kind of done? He's not done. He needs some more pieces now. They got to kind of tweak the roster around a little bit, but I mean, the Bills aren't going anywhere. They're going to be a powerhouse still for quite some time, and they've got plenty of room and capital coming up in the next few years to make that happen too. So, I mean, do I think the Jets can win? Yes. Do I think Aaron Rodgers is a great quarterback? Yes. Do I think he's top 10? No, but I will go top 15.
Neel, Tony?
I was 99% sure that I was about to hear straight facts on that one. And I had all this, but you know what? I'm shocked by the bro relax. And so I don't got much to say, but I agree with everything he said. It's a high risk, high reward situation for Rodgers. I mean, especially after last year, and not to mention the last year he had in Green Bay was not that great from a statistical point of view. He was already showing signs of aging then, now coming off an Achilles. Plus, he's kind of doing weird stuff in the offseason, not attending training camp fully. Who knows? I'm not worried about his game as much as I'm worried about his bond in the locker room with these other guys who are undoubtedly going to look at him for leadership. And, so obviously I'm a Bills fan, Tony. We want to see the Jets fail. But if the Bills, for some reason, are out of things, I'd like to see the Jets do well, actually. And I'd like to see Aaron Rodgers have a little bit of a redemption with that team. Because there's a lot of good players on that team, and they got a good coach. Saleh is a good coach. But yeah, it's a high risk, high reward type of situation. So I agree with Matt for pretty much everything he said.
Tony,
Yeah,
how about the
I'm a
last
big,
thoughts?
I'm a,
Yeah.
sorry, I'm a big Aaron Rodgers fan. So if the Buffalo Bills don't have a great season and the Jets catch some fire and play some good football, I'm always cheering for that guy. And he's been one of my favorite quarterbacks to watch over the last 20 years. But 40 years old, coming off an Achilles injury, like you said, that's a tough ask, no matter who you are. And it's funny they've been showing this video that surfaced of him and Garrett Wilson having a little bit of spat during training camp, and they're treating it like it's such a big deal. Like players don't argue at training camp every day. It's much ado about nothing. But yeah, I'm with you. It's going to be a tough ask. It's going to be a tall order, but if there's anybody who can pull it off, it's Aaron Rodgers.
Can I cycle back real quick? Couple things that just got
Please.
mentioned. So number one, Neel, you had mentioned not so much his like playing ability, but like his leadership ability in the locker room. That's one of the things that I'm really not worried about. I think Aaron Rodgers has that personality of a leader. He's got that mentality to take these young guys under his wing. I think he's got enough veteran guys around him, especially guys that he brought over from Green Bay, who can help use that veteran instinct, especially in some of these second, third, and fourth year guys, such as Wilson, such as Breece Hall, Jermaine Johnson, even on the defensive side, people like Chuck Clark, who's been in Baltimore for years, been one of the best, DBs in the league. And now, we've got people like him who can really embrace these younger talents that have just continuously been drafted. I mean, the Jets have been drafting consistently well for 3-4 years now. I will give them a lot of credit. Their mindset has changed. I'm not worried about the gameplay of Rodgers. I'm more worried about that than I am the leadership, though. I don't want to see him go down to another injury. I don't want to see him run even one full game and then, my back's hurting, my knees are hurting, whatever. Now, the other thing I want to touch on with that is that I don't think they're going to ask him to do nearly as much as what they expected him to do in Green Bay.
Yeah.
In Green Bay, he had to be the A1 sauce guy. I mean, he had to be the best of the best and lead the rest of that team. I feel like the Jets have enough people on this roster to kind of take some of that pressure off of him and say, hey, we're going to go out there, we're going to lead this team, but I'm not the only leader.
Yeah.
We've got 7, 8, 9, 10 leaders. And so I can dink and dunk these little plays. I don't necessarily have to throw the bombs. I don't have to be the guy I was when I won my Super Bowl or when I had those deep playoff runs. He doesn't need to be that guy anymore because we have so much stuff stacked around him.
Absolutely, man. You said it. Last year they had Zach Wilson playing in there looking like hot garbage most of the time. He had like 1 or 2 games where he looked decent, but he never looked great. Great. And there's a lot of those games that were like you put Aaron Rodgers in there instead of Zach Wilson, and that's a Jets W. And so, they got a really good team. If he's on point, they'll probably be top of the division. But I also think the Bills could be top of the division, even if Aaron Rodgers does have a great season. It's going to be fun. It's going to be fun to see. I hope they do well. Not as well as the Bills, but I hope they do the next best. And I hope that they play the Chiefs in the playoffs and not us. Please save us from that.
I'm going to stick with cautious optimism, though. I mean, on paper, this team is about as mean and about as statistically good as you could ask for a team to be.
Absolutely.
The Jets roster is about one of the best well-rounded rosters I've ever seen.
I agree with that. On paper,
on paper, this is everything you could want from a championship team. Now it's time to put pen to paper and go out there and earn those contracts that y'all are making these buku dollars for. Go out there and earn it and bring us home a damn Super Bowl because Joe Montana is struggling.
Who would have thought the American guy? Who would have thought the American guy would be the one throwing a French around?
Listen, we got to do what we got to do, man. Jets are hurting.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah, no, Matt, let me start by saying thank you so much for joining us. I mean, it was a last second thing where, you were so open to join us. And hey, I'm sure when you woke up this morning, you were like, I'm definitely going to spend 2 hours talking sports with 3 Canadians, but here you are. And we really love to have you back, man. Thank you so much for joining us, dude.
Yeah, man. Absolutely, guys. Thank you all for having me. I appreciate the offer.
Yeah,
Take
no,
care,
we'll
brother.
definitely do it again.
Take care, man.
Tony, Neil, thank you as always. Let's hook up one of these days soon.
Good night,
Sounds
guys.
good, guys. Good seeing
Perfect.
you all.
Perfect.
care.
For Tony, Antoniou, Neel, Katatrey, and Matt Hoffmann, I'm Randy Kure at What's Up the Sports Podcast. Hope you're doing well and keeping safe. We will talk to you next time.